Shock the World is the most captivating and iconic production I've edited to date. On the 15th of January 2009, Flight 1549, carrying 155 people, took off smoothly from New York's Las Vegas International Airport bound for Los Angeles. Captain Sully, a 42-year veteran, was decisive and meticulous. The second captain was also highly experienced and had a deep admiration for Captain Sully. However, drawing on his 42 years of experience, he approached the wide gate for a hard runway drill. He made a decisive decision, one beyond anyone's imagination, a runway clearance. He immediately reported the incident to the tower. Upon hearing this, Captain Fung was instantly shocked and immediately contacted Tete Airport, where Flight 549 had been forced to make a runway clearance. However, the response was still that the plane 100 meters. Captain Chenjo immediately issued a collision avoidance command to the aircraft. "I'm the captain. Prepare for an emergency collision." Upon hearing the captain's announcement, all the passengers were terrified. All sent final goodbye messages to their families. Others expressed their long-standing gratitude. Captain Chenjo remained calm. He simply gripped the controls and leaned forward. He knew that if either the nose or the wing touched the water first, receiving the call also scrambled to the rescue. By this time, the engine rooms and impact ladders on both sides were occupied for a while. The water level in the engine room was already waist high. Captain Shangley, regardless of his own safety, meticulously searched every position. Only after ensuring that no one was down did he return to his stance, pick up his flight deck, and leave the engine room. With the media's continued coverage, the story was well and truly over. Captain Saleh instantly became a hero. Every moment of honor propelled him to the forefront of public attention. He was invited to a famous talk show, embraced by a hotel manager, and kissed by a makeup artist. But none of this fazed him. He even said in an interview, "I don't consider myself a hero. I was just doing my job, just like everyone else." However, something unexpected happened. The Aviation Transportation Safety Board, ATSB, deemed this an incident, not a safe emergency landing. Their engineers, based on the aircraft's surge data, determined that the plane's left pilot was operating at a low speed, not the dual pilot shutdown they had reported. The aircraft also had more than enough power to safely land. Captain Sully, despite the tower clearing the runway, continued to operate. He disregarded the safety of all passengers and insisted on making an emergency landing in Hadley. Although no casualties were reported, the airline suffered significant losses. The two captains were also injured. In the emergency situation of a dual engine shutdown, engaging the auxiliary power system only allowed the plane to glide. During this time, they had attempted to restart the tandem propulsion system several times, but they didn't have much time to think about it. The densely populated New York City lay below the aircraft, and a failure to react and make decisions promptly could have resulted in even more serious consequences. Therefore, he could only rely on his 40+ years of flying experience to determine that the aircraft's altitude and speed were insufficient for a safe landing. The only option was a forced landing on the wide area hard endurance flying range. This only required testing the left tandem propulsion system, and we reported that the left tandem propulsion system had been lost during the forced landing. Although the plane hadn't been salvaged, they had run computer simulations of the aircraft's flight parameters at the time. The simulations showed a successful return to Earth from Lagua, Dia, the airport, and Tet. This result left Sully in disbelief. They would then conduct a real-life simulation flight using the same parameters at the hearing. If everything matched the computer simulation, Captain Sully would face not only Captain Sully's reputation and the media, in a sharp turn of events, transformed him from a hero into a voice of utter despair, prompting soul-searching questions. Sully was once again thrust into the spotlight, and the immense pressure plunged him into deep anxiety. Not only did he have to keep his family from being destroyed, but he was also constantly plagued by nightmares of his plane being completely destroyed. He even began to doubt his original judgment and decision, finally arriving at the hearing in a state of extreme panic and anxiety. Unfortunately, the pilots had simulated both LaGuardia and Tite airports using the same emergency conditions and flight parameters as that day. Both flights were successfully completed. While these results were extremely encouraging to Captain Sully, he remained calm and composed. Although the parameters were the same, The pilot's flight simulations, like computer simulations, failed to account for the all-important human factor. They hadn't executed the while he had needed to think, analyze, and make decisions, processes that took time. Since they were looking for the human factor, they should have included the human fact. This meant that Captain Sully's emergency breach of the Hudson River was the right decision. The Security Council also expressed great confidence and assurance in Captain Sully, comparing it to an essential step in a process. But Captain Sully disagreed. The successful breach of the Hudson River wasn't the work of just one person. It involved the concerted efforts of 1,150 passengers, crew, rescue workers, air traffic control, and many others. This film, based on the true story of Captain Sully's successful breach of the Hudson River aboard US Airways Flight 1549 on the 15th of January 2009, is not only a remarkable achievement in aviation history, demonstrating a remarkable success in breaching the Hudson River without causing casualties, but also conveys a message: everyone has the potential to be a hero. He